Thanks, Ian. Thanks very much for joining us today on the Aeras podcast. And before we go into repair challenges, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your current role with Barnes, if you would, please.
Sure. Hi. Well, firstly, thank you, Mark, and thanks to Aeras for having me on the podcast. My name is Ian Taylor. I'm the VP of Repair Sales for Barnes Aerospace. We are an international company owned by Apollo Global Holdings, Global Management, private equity firm based out of the US. I've been in my role in various different forms because I was previously with MB Aerospace that was acquired by Barnes originally. So I've been around 2018 in purely the repair business in this particular role. Prior to that, I was with TS&S Aerospace, now Standard Aerotech, working with them on the whole engine repair. So been around a while. And a little bit before then, I was with Rolls-Royce for some time.
Fantastic. Obviously, Barnes have many different repair facilities, repair sites, if you prefer, all across the globe. How is capacity at those various sites?
So I think at Barnes Aerospace, we were quite forward-thinking, and there'd been a lot of expansion that had taken place in the last 2 to 3 years. I think there's an anticipation that the capacity, will become a challenge in the supply chain, which it has been. We've been well prepared in investing in expanding our facilities, buying more machines, etc., and importantly, growing manpower as well, and working with technical schools to grow the amount of people that we can bring into our shops, whether that be in the US or whether that be in Asia. So yes, it is a challenge. It's always a challenge, and what we find is people will switch. If you have open capacity, then your shop will become full. Then as your shop becomes full, people are then looking for capacity elsewhere. But hence why we did the investment into growing all these so we can cope as much as possible with the market as it grows as well.
Fantastic. Obviously, you talked then about adding manpower. Do you feel since the pandemic there's been a skills gap shortage within the industry? I don't just mean within the repair side, I mean in the industry in general.
I think in general, I don't think it's just the aviation industry, but aviation was hit pretty hard. It was for obvious reasons that air travel was one thing that was almost stopped, thanks to the pandemic and the challenges of moving around globally. What I would say, I think there's almost a generational gap as well. I'm no spring chicken anymore, as you well know.
Neither am I.
But as you start working and understanding the younger generation coming into the business, it's a different way of working. Their mentality is different. It's arguably much smarter. So we're talking not so long ago about AI. How does that work? How do you manage to get 3 people's job done by one person who's smart with AI, for example? But also there's a difference in what people are expecting out of a job. When I was young, it was all about you go to work 5 days a week, 8 till 5 or 8 till 6. I think a lot of people now what they want to do, they're quite happy to work, but they want flexibility in their working lifestyle. They want to be able to work from home for some time. They want to be able to pop off and do some chores during the day or whatever it may be. It's just seems to be a different mentality, which is leading to some challenges, especially in things that require on-site skills like technicians, inspectors, kind of more hands-on role.
Yeah, where they have to be on site for
Correct.
Well, pretty much the whole shift, the whole day, whatever it is.
Correct.
And yeah.
So hence why what we are trying to do through active recruitment in the schools, we've talked about apprenticeship schemes and all these great ideas, careers fairs, going and trying to get the folk early in their career so they can help us with the new ideas they have about improving and leaning out the systems. But also we have a chance to train them and educate them in the way that we expect them to work in this particular industry.
Yeah. How do Barnes kind of manage the customer demand for reducing of price, but also maintaining the quality? I imagine that's quite a challenge every day you face.
So the way I always approach this, is it always price? And my answer is no. So for me, it's a value proposition. And sure, I could give you the cheapest price, but if I don't give you your part back for 6 to 9 months, then it doesn't matter, right? You've not achieved anything. What I would say is, we may not be the cheapest in the marketplace, but what we will do is we'll guarantee quality and turnaround time and get that part back to you to allow you to either sell it in your case, or in the OEM's case or the MRO's case, get that part back into their engine within the time period they need to get it back in to start their build line. So yes, there's always pressures, but I think it's a value package that our customers need to balance between themselves and say, what's important? Is it time and quality or is it purely price? What is that key thing? We are not a company that will just drop our price and say, yes, let's go to the lowest price. That's how we want to book in business. That's not our business model. We believe in deriving value from delivering value.
And I guess outside factors are kind of driving the pricing as well. Material costs seem to be escalating year on year.
Yeah, I mean, we all know what's happened again in terms of inflation in the market. You know, manpower is no longer as cheap as what it was. There's ways and means you can deal with that, right? So you can lean out processes, procedures, etc. We have many lean experts in our various different facilities, as well as a corporate head of lean. So what are we trying to do? Reduce cost. We know the cost of manpower is going up. How can we reduce the number of hours in the process to try and combat some of that, for example, or get smarter with the machines, invest in capital to, you know, shorten the process time that we need to do these various different things. Material is material, unfortunately. Yes, it goes up. What we try and do is differentiate our value and the material value. Now, the reason I say that, it's very easy for someone to look and say, well, you're expensive. But if we're buying material at full catalog price versus, for example, someone buying USM and using that, it's a very different proposition. So our view is, yes, we'll handle the part for you, but material will be separate. And then we'll offer you a repair price for that particular part. And that hopefully balances things out.
Yeah, and I think from our side, from Hearts Trader side, it's very important to get a good quality cert and a good quality turnaround time, like you said. So those are things we would look at before price. Price is a factor, obviously, for everyone.
Of course.
But not the number one driving factor.
Absolutely. And it all depends on your business model and what you're doing. So obviously, if you're building up a buffer stock, you can afford to wait 6 months. But that doesn't add value to you as a company. You're spending money to put things on a shelf for a prospective buy. So what you want to do, as you mentioned, is turnaround time. You sell the part, and then you promise your customer that part will go in 30 days. So you send it to us. We then need to get that part back to you so you can deliver on your promises that you've made to your customer.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think communication is actually key. The worst thing for us is being given an estimated completion date, and then we find out the day after that completion date that it slipped another 3 weeks, and then 3 weeks' time, we repeat the same process again. So
absolutely 100%. And, you know, certainly I am a big fan of, you know, all news is news. Good news, bad news is better delivered, you know, as soon as possible rather than leaving it to the last minute. We are improving our processes. We're looking at digitalization of various different processes and procedures. You know, maybe that will take away the whole human element completely. I don't think so. I think you still need some human element in there myself. I personally like to speak to people, as you well know.
Yeah.
I like to pick up the phone. I like to have the conversation to build that relationship. What that should be backed up with is hard, solid data. So our customers know exactly when things are going to happen. And also, if we can build in, which we're looking at, let's look at giving our customers a potential forecast of whether we think things will slip. We have a lot of knowledge on the complex repairs, things like cases. We know if they go back in for repair, there's a 50% chance it will need a rework, not because of our work, because of the distortion that naturally happens. Mm-hmm. So how can we then improve our process of saying, okay, listen guys, this will be back with you in 15 days or 20 days, but there's a 50% chance that there'll be a rework based on our experience. So it might actually be 40 days.
Yeah.
And that gives you then the clarity and the transparency to say, okay, do I need a backup plan here? Or am I okay with this and I can brief my customer?
No, yeah, definitely. That's some very good points. We talked a lot about turnaround time there. What's the Barnes kind of point of view on turnaround time? Do you see it increasing, decreasing, staying the same throughout 2026?
So I will tell you what our new CEO will say, and that is our turnaround time will decrease.
Okay.
We have the pleasure of having a CEO now who is, you know, not that the other ones weren't, but this one is especially operationally focused. And it's a huge factor for him. Something that the sales team has been saying for a long time. And the organization has been delivering, and we've been delivering at a pace that I personally would like to see faster.
Yeah.
But it's always easier to say than be done. We do complex repairs on parts that do take time, so trying to decrease turnaround time is difficult, especially with the amount of repairs and everything that has to go into these things. That being said, you know, there is a real drive for operational excellence, and that is a key theme of Barnes in 2026. We will drive operational excellence. The turnaround times will be what is expected of our customers. And I do believe that will happen pretty quickly based on the last 4 days that we just had a management team meetings.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what the feedback is of the Aero Engines event in Tampa next week.
Yeah.
Because probably for the last 5-6 years, perhaps, it's been kind of bad news where turnaround times and supply chain issues are escalating. So,
I
yeah.
agree. And I wouldn't say that specifically for Barnes Aerospace, to be very honest.
Yeah.
I think there are companies out there, and we're not perfect. I'm not going to sit here to everyone who's watching this and to yourselves and say we are. We do have our challenges. But as an overall company, I think we're pretty good at delivering on what we say.
Yeah.
95% of the time. Now, would I like that to be 98%? Absolutely. Would I like it to be 100%? Yes.
Yeah.
But in reality, is that going to happen? No. Okay. And that's not because of Barnes, it's not because of the way we're doing things. It's just natural that you always have something that happens in that supply chain.
And I guess, like you said, with capacity being so high at the moment, then it's difficult to be on top of every single transaction, every single part. So
it is, but again, a good team like what we have across all of our facilities. I wouldn't say to be one particular facility. All of our facilities have great management teams, great operations teams. And I think what you talked about earlier, the key is people. If you don't have the manpower that have confidence in the leadership team, have confidence in the company, you will not have a good company. And I think Barnes has done a really good job of driving the corporate culture into a way where people are proud to work for Barnes. They want to deliver the product on time. They want to go the extra mile, and they want to deliver to their end customers when they see things like engines flying or when they're going on holiday.
Yeah.
If the plane leaves on time, they're happy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, same as all of us, right? But yeah, completely agree. Very much the same with Aeras. We're growing every year. I think we sent out more repair orders last year than we did since Aeras was founded. So yeah, and that'll only increase again throughout 2026. So it's really good to see. We've talked a lot about, what repair shops are doing. What we haven't really spoke about is what us parts traders can do better. Is there anything we can do to make your job easier, to make the guys back in the repair shop's job life easier?
It comes back to what you were saying earlier, right? Which is communication. What is key for us? And it's really difficult for used serviceable material suppliers to predict volumes as to what you're going to have. But I think the more information we can get from our customers around how many engines do you think you're going to get, what quarter, or even when you get an engine that's going to close on a sale for you guys know you're going to put it into wherever you're going to tear it down. You guys know when it's likely that first parts list is going to come out to be shipped. So the more info you can tell us and the earlier you can tell us, the better that is for us in terms of being able to prepare ourselves as much as we can to deliver those parts on time.
Okay.
So purely around that. Yeah. Other thing is honest feedback, right? So if we do a good job, tell us we do a good job. If we do an average job, tell us that. If our pricing you feel is high, tell us that. We'll try and work on it. Or we'll have the other thing, which is, we still think it's fair value because we're delivering on time. We know what our competitors are doing. We know where they have challenges, and they know where we have challenges. So the aviation industry, as you know, is small.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everything.
Correct.
As long as we all work together to deliver our customers' needs, life should be good.
Sounds good. Yeah, definitely built on relationships.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate the relationship we have and appreciate working with Barnes. And
you've been working with Barnes or MB Aerospace, in the past for quite some time.
14 years plus now, so yeah.
Yeah.
Feels longer in a good way.
You know what we're capable of. And the other thing I would ask as well is if there's repairs that the market is struggling with, that you are struggling with in the market, talk to us. We have a great owner, great shareholder now that has capital to spend. We're not going to spend it stupidly, but what we will do is spend it on things that make good business sense. So if you're having problems with particular parts, well, chances are other companies are having problems with the same parts. Is there a business case for us then to step in? Could we be sponsored by someone like Aeras or something like that to start that parts development, drive that, and then let us market the rest of the market?
Oh, that sounds great. Well, thanks, Ian.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
the insights today. Always good to catch up.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Enjoy the rest of the show. Thanks. Bye.